Hello everyone, it's DuckFaden07. Today we are playing Golgari full deck. Okay, so there are a lot of variants of this deck and a lot of ways you can build it. And for this new edition with these new cards, I tried two versions. I created two versions, and I really like them both. This first version is using Elvish Archivist and the new card Royal Treatment. I had Celestia Hammer Time brew that I played a bit and used these two cards there too, and I really like them. So I wanted to see what other shells could I use them in, and I think Archivist can be very, very good in the food shell because of the Underworld Cookbook. Underworld Cookbook means, for example, if it's turn 3 or if it's turn 2, with the Springleaf Drum or Gilded Goose, you can go Elvish Archivist into Cookbook, grow your Archivist on your turn, then discard Ovalchase Daredevil on opponent's turn to grow it again, and then you untap and play any artifact, and Archivist is already 6/7. And you can just, with the Cookbook, you can grow it always in your opponent's turn. It's just a great synergy and it can work really well. So I thought, what other cards have like really nice synergy with Elvish Archivist, and I found that this food staple that used to be played in all food decks, Trail of Crumbs, works very well with Archivist because it's enchantment that creates artifact when it enters the battlefield. So when you have Archivist on the field, play Trail of Crumbs, and you immediately draw a card and put a counter on it, which is like really great. Okay, so I needed ways to utilize the Trail of Crumbs. Usually in the Trail of Crumbs deck, people tend to play the cat and oven combo. So that is among few ways that you can sack the single food. Gilded Goose also can sack a single food, but I didn't really want to play a cat oven combo in a build like this one, where I have the royal treatment, like protecting a large single significant threats. So I really wanted to use the Mushroom Watchdogs. Mushroom Watchdogs is a card from Lord of the Rings that has this ability: sacrifice a food, put a 1/1 counter. And usually in this kind of deck, you always had plenty of food on the field. The deck is based around finding the Asmo and finding the cookbooks and then creating bunch of food. And Watchdogs is really, really a decent threat in a deck like this, especially a single threat which you can protect with the royal treatment. And he gets counters, he gets vigilance, and also he's like the guy that enables your Trail of Crumbs the best. So you can play the Watchdogs on turn 2. If it survives, for example, you can immediately go Trail of Crumbs, get that food, immediately sack it, immediately get to draw a card, make a Watchdog a 3/3, or whatever. If you have a cookbook from before, you can even make him larger than that. And it's a really good enabler for the Trail of Crumbs. So all of these cards synergize very well together. And why I included this royal treatment card, it's also a new card from the Wilds of Eldraine. I really like this card with Elvish Archivist. This is a deck that we play some significant threats that we really want to protect, like Asmo is really, really important. Archivist is also really, really important for this build. We also have Mushroom Watchdogs that also does a lot for the deck. And this royal treatment works so well with Elvish Archivist because when you cast this card for 1 mana, you create a roll token, and that is actually enchantment on the creature. So when you cast the treatment on the Archivist, you trigger the Archivist to draw a card, which is pretty cool. So it's a 1 mana protection spell that can be used for your Asmo and Archivist Mushroom Dogs and construct tokens, whatever, but also creates aura on your creature and triggers the Archivist for a draw card. Okay, so Generous Ent, I really want to say just how good is this card in this deck. And in all Asmo decks, these Swamp Cyclers or Forest Cyclers, whatever, are just so relevant. This guy has been, I played Asmo through Generous Ent like 80% of times. When I don't have a cookbook or don't have Finale, this is like the best current enabler to play the Asmo in the food shell. I think I've been like really impressed with it. Okay, so that is it. That is the all I'm going to say about this deck. I have a second build, food, using the Agatha Souls Cauldron, and but we are going to have to watch that in another video. Okay, so we are going to watch some games I played with this one, but games really go really long, most of them. So I think I'm just going to show like 3 or 4 games. This was a league. I ended up 4-1. That is the best result I got with this deck. I didn't play, but I didn't play a lot of it, and I did feel like the deck really has some potential. But I'm still torn between these two variants I played. I'm not sure which one is best. Agatha Cauldron is really powerful card too, and I had a feeling that that card can be very good. Okay, so what I was talking about, maybe I should have played this vice versa, played the Watchdogs turn before, now I'll be able to attack the Bran 6, but I really wanted to get this trigger, and they were like really medium, I was not expecting them to kill the Trail, and I got the draw from the Watchdogs, but the opponent was playing first, and they got their stuff first, and they already put the ring on the field. So I did get to play the Archivist. I get to play the Mushroom Watchdogs, make my Watchdog of 5/5 here, kill the Wren. But now they untap with one ring. They play the Beans and also find the removal. And yeah, I mean, I was still in a decent situation. I succeeded to get some really good stuff from the top of the deck, but all of this was too much fury with ephemerate, beanstalk, and one ring on the field. Just didn't have any chance, and that was the game. So let's check out how I succeeded to win the next two. Opponent had a pretty good start last time. Basically, I didn't use almost anything. I feel like my main deck is pretty good against them already. And when I'm playing first, I decided almost not to change anything. But on the draw, I did use some cards. Okay, so Generous Ent, they're finding me a land, and I play the Pithing Needle, naming the Verdant 6. Opponent goes for a Fable and passes the turn. Okay, so I got a Saga, and I got the Trail of Crumbs on the field. Put my cookbook and start making this food tokens, which are going to make a really big help me make a really big construct token, and hopefully a construct token can then finish this game. But opponent goes for the fairy bounces Saga, which is like really irritating. But yeah, I want to stop here because this is a play I was really excited about in a lot of builds I made. And yeah, so turn 3, Archivist into cast Saga, draw card, cast Cookbook, grow your Elvish Archivist, and then pass the turn. On your opponent's turn, again discard the Daredevil and make your Archivist a 4/5. This play feels very powerful, and this is why when I fell in love with the Archivist in the full deck, and with all other synergies, I feel like full deck is really missing one threat that can finish the game fast, but also you get so much additional value from the Archivist. You get the old draw card, accidentally drawing a card bunch of times. And yeah, okay, so I had a bunch of food tokens at this point, and I was going for a large construct token. And when you have this much food tokens against a 4-color Omnat pile, anytime you top deck your Asmo, you can just play it and kill their entire board, which is exactly what happened here. So I made another construct token. I discarded. I made a bunch of food tokens. Then played my Asmo, killed their entire board, and I still had 2 large construct tokens on the field. And yeah, that was pretty much a game over for the opponent. They didn't have the One Ring or whatever else they wanted, needed at this point. So I played my Asmo, find a fourth cookbook. Now, even if they must exile Asmo. If they kill it, I can use the cookbook to return it. But it's really hard to exile it since Asmo can kill itself with its own ability. So they went for Solitude in response to kill my large construct, so to prevent themselves from dying. And yeah, so now they untap. They have a Fury to kill my Asmo, which is fine. I still, as I said, I can still get it back from the graveyard if I need it, and I have 4 cookbooks on the field. Even with, I think One Ring just can't win this game at this point. With the 4 cookbooks on the field and Asmo in the graveyard, I can just kill their entire board, whatever they do. So I've made a bunch of new tokens again. Played my Asmo. Opponent again has the removal, but this doesn't matter. I just use my cookbook to get it back, and they really can't establish any board control in this situation. So here it is again, going for the Asmo, creating more tokens, and now each turn I just repeat the same thing until opponent loses to the One Ring or life loss or something like that. And yeah, that's exactly what happened. We can go to the last game. Opponent tried to play a bunch of spells, tried to get out of this situation, but they weren't able to do it, so that's it. Okay, game 3. My opponent now playing first, so significantly harder. I started off with the Nihil Spellbomb. I wanted to play the Nihil Spellbomb in case they go for a run and 6. I can immediately remove their land in case they... this is a 4-color Omnat pile, and sometimes they get stuck on lands. Okay, so I'm pretty sure I was about to lose this game, but I won on time. But it is interesting game because I'm going to show you a few tricks that this deck can do that are really interesting and can be maybe used in some other builds too. This is so annoying, like the fairy bouncing the Urza Saga. So now I wanted to do the play I was talking about, which I really like, and that is turn 3 Archivist. Cast Saga, draw a card, immediately make a token. Food token to grow your archivist. Yeah, so this is again a second game in the row doing the same thing. Archivist into Saga into Cookbook. I just really love this play. Yeah, but my opponent had too much stuff. They had the fairy, ran Omnat, and I really need my Asmo to win this matchup, and I really need my Ovalchase Daredevil. So I would consider some changes to this list. Definitely, like maybe uh, adding a fourth Ovalchase Daredevil and stuff like that. And I also think in this matchup, like this Royal Treatment card can be very useful. And also, this was my first league with a deck, and I should have probably sided the Force of Vigors. Like all the cards in the main seemed pretty good for the matchup. I didn't use anything, but Force of Vigors are just so good against these Beanstalk variants that I definitely should have included it. It kills, especially these versions, they also play the Fable. So they have Binding, they have Fable, they have Beanstalk. But other than that, like Thoughtseize can be fine, but it's nothing special. Yeah, okay, so I had Asmo now. I killed 2 of their creatures, and you can see just how powerful Asmo is. I got to the point where where I was in the lead, but opponent now had the Fury, and I didn't unfortunately have Ovalchase Daredevil, this game I didn't have what I wanted here. So, but still, it was close. If I just had those few cards I needed, I think this matchup is more than winnable. And I went for a block on Goblin Shamans here, staying on 3 life. Opponent was really low right now on time, and they tried to finish this. And yes, so now I'm on 1 life. Opponent has a minute left, and I have to survive another turn to maybe try to win this one. So I find a Haywire Mite with Saga, gain 2 life, and get back my Elvish Archivist. Opponent deals 2 damage to Archivist, 2 damage to the Watchdogs. So I want to show like this Royal Treatment card is very fun with Archivist, because now I'm able to go Royal Treatment targets the Watchdog, make him a 3/3 hexproof ward, draw a card from the Archivist, and discard card with the Cookbook, and both of my creatures survive, and that is just enough to get me another turn. And opponent was not experienced MTGO user, so they weren't able to finish this on time. And yeah, they just basically needed to attack and win, but they were not able to like play that fast, and that was the game. Okay, so let's check out game 2. So this is the game I actually won on time, but I was about to lose. And I played this. I played a lot of games against these 4-color Omnat piles, and they were slightly favorable, but this deck definitely had tools to fight that matchup. And in the games where I had Asmo, they just didn't have any chance. Even with the ring, I have 3 Haywire Mites available, but like Asmo is really crucial here. Okay, I didn't have a third land against Burn at this point, and last turn I decided just to go for gain 3, and now I've played my Archivist. I find the Springleaf Drum. I play the Cookbook, so now I can further grow the Archivist, get him out of the bolt range, so I can block this Switchspear. And on their upkeep, I grow my Archivist, make him 4/5. And now I have a food token on the field and 2 mana, so I'm able to just block with Archivist and then get those 3 life. So my opponent had to have the Boros Charm here to kill me. They didn't have it, and I was able to completely stabilize, get land, get another food token, gain 3 more life, and now at this point I'm also protecting my Archivist with the Royal Treatment at this point, so there is just the opponent doesn't have a chance anymore. And I untap, find also draw a card here, free draw, like a country ping, instant speed. That's pretty cool actually. Also, like Trail of Crumbs is very good with Archivist in some games. Trigger both of these sides of this ability. Now I was able to find Asmo, get second food, kill the Switchspear, and present 2 turn clock with the Archivist. So I killed the Switchspear, attacked them. Opponent didn't have an answer to that, and that was the game. Okay, let's check out the game 2. Okay, so I really like this Generous Ent in this deck, as I already said. So it enables me playing Asmo. It also finds me any land in the deck, including Gingerbread Cabin, which is pretty cool. And I also like kind of playing Urza Saga on turn 1 sometimes in this deck, especially against these aggressive matchups. Opponent had a removal for my Asmo, pretty good start for them. Searing Blaze there, and the Monastery Spear. I went for the cookbook, get the food token, play Asmo, find another cookbook, and yeah. So I decided to attack here. And keep the royal treatment. So this enables me to block the Spear next turn and protect the Asmo from their removal spells. But opponent had a pretty good hand, like a Smash to Smithereens there to kill my Shadowspear, and also had another Smash to kill my Cookbook. They go phase damage and try to grow their Spear to kill my Asmo, but I have the protection spell, so my Asmo survives. And on my turn, I crack the food. I get uh, I get 3 life, and opponent is now on 0 cards. But I completely brain fart at this point, and I should have attacked with Haywire Mite and stay back with Asmo, but instead I did the opposite, putting myself in a pretty bad position. So I just should have, if I played this safely, there was just no way for me to lose this game. But yeah, I did this terribly and got punished immediately. So this was my first league with a deck. So it's very often when you just start jamming the archetype you never played, uh, or you didn't play it in a long time, you really do some bad plays and misplays. And here I was able to go for Finale on turn 1, so I didn't even need to play the Overgrown Tomb here to pain myself, so I was able to get the Asmo early on the field, get the cookbook. Cookbook then enables me to start gaining life, which just these burn obviously can handle. And yes, so now I was able to discard the Ovalchase, play the Asmo, create this food, and I decided to go immediately for crack food. Sorry, I guess I didn't. And I've just made another food token, and I guess I decided to go for Goblin Guide kill. Finding Gingerbread Cabin also can be helpful in a lot of situations. Opponent goes Riftbolt face, then Skewer also. Now I untap, I play the Archivist, then play the Gingerbread Cabin, get the artifact, grow the Archivist. Now I can safely attack with Asmo. My opponent was obviously holding the spell that prevents me to gain life. I was on 8, so still pretty safe. I create another food token, grow my Archivist, and attempt to gain 3 end of turn. Obviously they had the Skullcrack, so the gain life didn't happen, but now I was untapping on my turn with potentially 6 mana, and they only have 2 mana open, so even if they have the Skullcrack, I still can gain 3 life and put myself again to 8 life, which is pretty comfortable position. So I go for a crack fool here, opponent plays another Skullcrack, but in response I gain 3, so pretty good. Opponent has one card in hand. This means they can potentially kill me if they top deck, but they didn't get what they need, and yeah, so that was the game. Opponent concedes. Okay, so let's check out another one. These games with Ovalchase Daredevil and the Cookbook really last a long time because on MTGO, like that process of creating a food token with a cookbook by discarding Ovalchase Daredevil really lasts a lot of time. And when you have to do this each and every turn after turn, then uh, kind of really take you a lot of time, and in every grindy matchup, it's really hard to stay on level with time with your opponent. Okay, I continue making these food tokens, and all the games when you're playing this deck were get really grindy. Didn't want to play any of my creatures at this moment. I was expecting them to play Living End soon. So I just wanted to force them into the Living End by creating the construct token. A really large construct token too. Opponent goes for Shardless Agent on their turn. This means I'm able to take mana with a Goose and then create a construct token after the Living End resolves, which is pretty good for me. I also discard my Watchdogs. I already have the Daredevil in the graveyard from before. And now I make a large construct token. I have Shadowspear on the field. I have Urza Saga next turn resolving. So basically, this Living End doesn't mean anything to me at right now. So I'm able to just create two very large constructs, then equip a Shadowspear on them, and this puts me just in a very good situation. I find the Nihil Spellbomb from my deck and decide against attacking this turn. There was no point in going for it this turn. Didn't want to let my construct die and only kill the Generous Ent or something like that. Okay, so I just continue making the foods. And yeah, now I was able to equip the construct token and grow them as large as possible. And now it made sense to start attacking. So I went for the attacks with my large construct tokens. Don't really have much options. But opponent goes for Otawara on my construct that had a lifelink, and just jumps with the Shardless Agent, probably just delaying a game until they get another Living End, and then they can block with everything, put everything into the graveyard, and do the Living End again. But I really just can't avoid that happening, so I just need to. My plan is to grind and try to top deck maybe another Urza Saga, or Elvish Archivist also would be decent. It can Archivist can get really large quickly, so it will be good with Shadowspear. I can't say this is the strongest food deck out there, but it's definitely good, has some potential, and I think it definitely has a place. So my opponent was able to bounce the board over there and then force my Nihil Spellbomb. So they blocked with a lot of creatures, so they ended up in their graveyard. And on their turn, they went for the Shardless again. So now I was in a weaker situation, but they only had like two Architects and two Shardless on the field. Plus they played hard-casted another Grief, but yeah, so I really only need like one Asmo top deck or something like that to totally get back into the game. And I used my Trail of Crumbs to find the Urza Saga, and Urza Saga was kind of perfect there. Also used another Trail of Crumbs ability, getting me the Asmo. And when I have the Asmo, I'm pretty secure. At this point, it's really hard to lose whatever they do. So they deal a lot of damage, putting me on 19 life there. But now I can again totally stabilize, create that this construct I had a lifelink and I was holding the royal treatment, so my opponent wasn't able to attack with other creatures, but they decided to attack with grief, which wasn't like the greatest decision. I gained a bunch of life there, getting to 28 again, and I still had a royal treatment opened to protect the constructs if needed. And on my turn, I was now able to attack with constructs and then play the Asmo. So totally back into the game, and opponent is at this point digging for their um, third third living end, and they do get it. So they go for the Shardless again, killing my construct. Maybe they should have waited another turn, probably. They did get a bunch of creatures here. At this point, they had two River Winders, another Grief, two Ents, a Curator. So a lot of creatures on the field, but nothing of this really matters because I still have the large construct token with the Shadowspear, and they just kind of can't beat this. I also can return Asmo whenever I want from the graveyard. I also played my Archivist to grow him. And decided to make my Mushroom Watchdogs big enough so I can block this River Winder. I probably should have gone for the Shadowspear equip instead of casting the Archivist right now, but it was fine. Opponent does some cycling, of course, but they used 3 living ends, and that was like all of them. They didn't have any more of them. So they weren't able to do any more of that stuff. So I just needed to like survive this attack and then equip the Shadowspear and basically win the game. Use the Trail ability now. Finding me the Gingerbread Cabin. Opponent puts me on 11. But now I can do just too much stuff. I already have a large Archivist. This guy is just so good with the cookbook. You grow him on each turn, so whenever you play this guy, he in 90% of situation gets the 2 counters put on it on every single turn. It's your turn, your opponent's turn, and this is why I like the Mushroom Watchdogs. This is a guy that costs 2 mana and can really grow immediately in the mid game or in the late game. I attack for lethal, even if they have the removal for the construct, I still have lethal with the 2 of my other creatures. They go for the outburst. And it is, yeah, they played, guess they played a 4th living end. It was really long game. It was kind of fun game too, or exhausting, or whatever you want to call it. But I decided to like sack a lot of my food here, do some Trail of Crumbs ability, kill all my creatures, put them into the graveyard. Maybe this wasn't so important. Probably I shouldn't waste the foods to kill the mushroom dogs because I had Asmo returning from the graveyard, so I can kill just creatures opponent gets back with the living end. But yeah, here it is, a 4th living end, and I fight through all of this, and this is like main deck. This is not even post board. This is just main deck game that I ended up winning after opponent casting 4 living ends, which is kind of incredible. And but this deck is just can really grind a lot, and it can even the same way it can outgrind the living end on game 1. The same way it can outgrind the One Ring and the 4 color Omnat piles, because you still have some good options against One Ring, like Haywire Mite to hate on the Beanstalks, to hate on the One Ring. You can probably max the number of this, and also play like 2 Force of Vigors. And when you have these cards, I think, and a card like Asmo in your deck, you just are really well positioned against decks like that. Opponent tries to Boseiju the Shadowspear, and but I got the counter on the Ovalchase, so I do trade with the Riverwinder. This was kind of important, but yeah, I was now again had access to the cookbooks and the Asmo, killing their flyers, and I grew my Archivist in the meantime. Also got to draw a card from the Archivist, and this guy really gets big fast enough, and I also have the royal treatment, so I can grow Archivist on their turn. Even with two Archivists, I get two draws with the royal treatment, which is kind of insane. This card just works so well in this deck. Also got the foods to kill their flyers and be safe from any lethal they may try. Okay, so killed one of the curators, so I'm safe from lethal. I go for another curator and decide to use the Trail of Crumbs ability twice. Get me more cards into the hand, and opponent just can't do anything anymore. They used all their living ends. They have only one card in hand. It is another creature, but it just doesn't matter. I now untap with Urza Saga, can create a large token to block whatever. I have enough foods to kill their flyers or some threats. I have enough creatures to block all of their stuff. And that's basically it. So opponent played another turn. I slowly killed all of their creatures and just finished them with two large archivists, and that was it. Okay, so that was just a game one basically. So we still need to have to watch the remaining two games. As I said, a lot of games in this matchup went like very long, like this one. As you can see, like so much of these Ovalchase Daredevil abilities. The game one lasted, I only had 3 minutes on clock, so I really was playing fast in the game two. You can play fast, but you just can't beat this cookbook Ovalchase Daredevil thing. You lose so much time trying to do create those bunch of food you need. And I see like they are going to win this, so I concede immediately to try to win the third game, and I successfully done that. Yeah, that first game was really amazing, and I really like how the Generous Ent uh, enables the Asmo in this deck. Okay, so we are going to see the sideboard plan, removed couple of archivists, removed all the royal treatments. They don't really play enough removal for me to put those in. Some Nihil Spellbombs, Endurances, of course, Thoughtseize also brought in. That's it. So I was able to have a Spellbomb on the field. I had Asmo as attacker. So I had everything I needed. Graveyard Hate plus a clock, decent clock on the field. This means opponent has to play like a first living end just to kill my creature and get rid of the spell bomb. In the meantime, my plan is to try to find other meaningful cards. I play the Watchdogs here, and it is really interesting. You will see that I successfully found the lethal. On the last turn, opponent goes for Ingot Chewer, but decides to kill my Underworld Cookbook, not my Spellbomb. I go for a Gingerbread Cabin. I play the Ovalchase Daredevil, make Watchdog a 5/5 Vigilance, and opponent does some more cycling, plays plays Fury, but doesn't have a spell to finish my Asmo, and that is the game. So I had lethal in the swing back, and that was it. Okay, so that were games against a Living End after that crazy game 1 win. And as I said, like these games with this deck go really, really long. They're very grindy, and you lose a lot of time doing those constant cookbook abilities. So it kind of takes a lot of time for me to for this video to create the video with a slow gameplay like this one. So I think I'm just going to not show the last game to make a video on an acceptable uh, uh, acceptable time. And I was playing here against Escape Shift, the Gruul Escape Shift, a pretty popular deck right now. A lot of people playing this deck in as a way to beat those 4-color Omnat piles, but also this deck has like surprisingly well scam matchup. So I would say pretty well positioned right now. And opponent had a pretty good hand there. And yeah, they had a Dryad on the field. I still didn't have ability to create 2 foods. I was missing a land to go for Cookbook plus Trail. This was my only way to try to kill the Dryad, and the opponent had the bolt in response, so I conceded. That was it. Okay, so let's check out how the game 2 went. I had 2 finale, they can't discard it, so I decided just to bottom one of the finales. So I really like this play pattern, so you will see what happens right now. I have a finale, of course. Go turn 2, get the Asmo on the field. This is something you really want to do as often as possible, just to get the Asmo on the field as soon as possible. And this means that when you have Saga and Archivist in play, you will definitely have a cookbook because you tutor it with Asmo. So now I'm able to play this perfect play of, if you're, of course, if a game allows it and you don't have to play, you're not forced to play something else. And now I'm able to play the Archivist, Saga, get the draw trigger, then play the cookbook. This feels so good every time. And as I said, I'm able to play the cookbook, and opponent doesn't have a bolt on my turn, so I go like discard a card immediately on their turn to get Archivist out of the bolt range. And the Archivist can mean really fast luck. Opponent plays the One Ring. Uh, I just uh, I just pump the Archivist more and prepare myself to create another construct token and hopefully try to kill my opponent on the next turn. They play a Wish and finding the explosives, meaning they get to kill my constructs and the Asmo. I don't. Okay, so let's check out the sideboarding plan. As I said, this was my I think this was my first league with this deck, so I was still experimenting a lot with the sideboarding, and I think I decided in this matchup just to go for Thoughtseize, and I think I had one Mite in the main, or maybe I didn't have any Mites. I think I didn't have any of them. I played Thoughtseize, discarded the escape sheet from their hand, attacked with Archivist, leaving them on 3 life, and they were getting the 2 damage from the One Ring. So it was really close to the kill. The Dwarf token helped them survive that turn. And now they had Dryad plus another One Ring, which helped them survive another turn. But I had the Asmo to kill the Dryad, which was pretty important and had a big threat on the field. So they don't really have a way to get rid of the Archivist right now, except wish for Beast Within, something like that. Opponent draws another card with the ring and dies, that's it. Okay, so let's check out the last game. Okay, so I had a pretty decent start there, with like Goose, Urza, Saga, and Asmo. Putting Asmo there on turn 2, it's pretty good. I still had the royal treatment here to protect the Asmo from the bolt or whatever. Opponent plays the Dryad, but I'm really fine with this because I can just kill it next turn. So I go for cookbook, create a second food token, or definitely kill the Dryad, and just start attacking my opponent. I wasn't able to create a construct token here, so I just went for the Watchdogs. Opponent plays a bunch of lands. I find another cookbook and started doing, of course, start doing foods and play the Thoughtseize, discarded the explosives from their hand, leaving them with just two basics. But they did have a Valakut on the field. But I had the royal treatment, protect my watchdog, make it a 4/4, get it out of the Valakut bolt range. And yeah, so this was the game where I had where I find a really nice lethal, and I was able to thanks to the counter from the royal treatment, I was able to top deck Trail of Crumbs, create two more food tokens, and make my watchdog a 7/7, which was exactly lethal with the Asmo, and for a cool win against Skipshift. So that was it. Last match, the only loss from my league was again 2-1 loss against Red Black Scam. It's easy to win against a scam when you have a cookbook on turn 1, creating a bunch of tokens throughout the game, and whatever they do, you have like 6-7 foods on the field. At any point, you top deck a Finale or just Asmo, and you kill all their entire board. And from that point, they really can't recover that easily. A royal treatment helps against Fury blowouts, and also Archivist can be really good because it can grow so quickly out of the Fury range and whatever. But yeah, so all of this felt pretty good. I can't say that this deck is a high tired deck, but it is very fun one, and I think among best shells to play the Elvish Archivist. I think I tried this guy in the scales. I tried it. I maybe put my version of the scales with it on the channel. Have to think about it a bit more. But I was like really had more fun playing the hammer with Celestia Hammer with the Archivist and the Royal Treatment. That was really fun. So I'm thinking about that one too. And as I already said, I have another Golgari Food Brew with Agatha Soul Cauldron. When older creatures have ability to become Asmo, and also the Mushroom Watchdog ability is really cool, especially if you have like a Walking Ballista. And the Chord of Calling is pretty good with Asmo because you can play it like with Convoke and get Asmo for 3 mana or sometimes less than that, obviously. And there are some good creatures in these colors that can be used with Agatha Soul Cauldron too, obviously, like a Grist and Walking Ballista that can be great with the Watchdog. Like every food becomes damage to the face. That is, and you notice that in this deck you always had a bunch of food. So maybe I will make that for another video. And that's it for this time. We will skip the last match because all of the matches last so long, especially that last loss against the Scam. It was like lasting forever, and I tried it to put it in a video, but I give up on it, and that's it. So that's it for today. Hope you like the build. Hope you like the gameplay. Just a friendly reminder to click like, click subscribe. Tell me how do you like Archivist and the Watchdogs with Trail of Crumbs and all these synergies I numbered in this deck. I think there are a lot of new synergies here, and the Trail goes so well with the both Watchdogs and the Archivist. So in this build, I would definitely use it. In my other build, I replaced Trail with Steel Seeker. Steel Seeker, and this, but that build is more like creature oriented, using Chord of Calling, no treatments and stuff like that. So that's it for today. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.